I keep hearing it. The market will recover this year. Well, I will tell you why the market won't recover within the next 12 months. It might even recover in the next decade. I spoke with a friend of mine, and if you are watching, thumbs up. I had a great conversation with him for over an hour. And basically, we were kind of debating and having this conversation about real estate, because he mentioned to me, he's like, look, I believe by my prediction and by my analysis that the market will bounce back within 6 months to a year. And I said, okay, that's fair, but you're basing it on what? And then he obviously went into the whole analytics of 2008 and the 90s and the 80s and stuff like that, right? And his and his family's background, they've been in real estate and reputable agents and all of that stuff. But I told him, look, man, like, this is analog thinking. And there's a reason when I say analog, right? Because we are used to going back in history, drawing the graph, understanding how it works, recognize a particular pattern, and then base it according to that, right? And it did work, right? When we were in analog world. But now we are stepping into digital world. We're stepping into different types of information, and we're stepping into AI that I would like to get into and stuff like that. But most importantly, it's the current situation and the mindset that is completely shifting the economics. It might not shift, you know, the average Joe Blow thinking, hey, look, like the worst is over. We are where we are. By the analytics, we're okay, because now it's the time in 2025 where the boom in June will hit, where the boom in, you know, June of 2026 will hit, and we will see the demand increase and stuff like that. So this is my personal observation and opinion, right? Do your own research. But what I can see in all other segments of historical data, what we have seen, you know, let's say in the 90s, yes, economic collapse, we have seen all kinds of stuff happen, we have seen people lose homes, we have seen pressures in the market, but, you know, we had, you know, immigration blew up, and we had people from all over the world migrating to Canada, right? And especially in the Balkans and stuff like that, like, you know, there was the mass migration from Europe and Balkans coming to Canada and whatnot, right? So we all know majority of these people, they're craftsmen, they know how to work with their hands, they're engineers, they're a skilled labor force. So yes, you will have that I'm not going to say pushback, but you will have that impact, positive impact on that particular economy. And yes, you will move forward, right? And all of a sudden you create a demand for more real estate. You created so much stuff, right? Like, even if we go further back, right? Like in the 80s, if we go all the way back, right? There was always an easier fix than it is today. Because today it seems like that everything is shifting at the same time, including how we are looking at employment, right? I just heard this data. I made a video on Ottawa, and I was there, and they skyrocketed. The listings just tripled, right, in Ottawa, and I wondered why, right? So many people in the comments, and I want to thank you guys, right, said, like, listen, there's like 60 to 80,000 jobs, white-collar jobs, in jeopardy. All right, I don't know exactly what it is, but I can tell you that there are hundreds of thousands of jobs in jeopardy, right? And we say, well, you know, like, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, or I can do something professionally, they cannot replace me. Well, yes, they can replace you, right? Because the shift is happening as we speak. So if you go back to a big one, right, Blockbuster, right? I remember being that kid, that teenager walking into the Blockbuster. And if you have not been there, you don't understand it, right? Because the feeling of grabbing that cassette VHS or grabbing that DVD CD, right? Like it was an achievement, right? Because they had only a certain amount of each movie, and then, you know, one of these blockbuster hits, they even call them blockbuster hits, right? So when you got your hands, like you know, you were excited, you're running home, like you're making popcorn, you want to watch that movie, the entire excitement, right? So you knew every single location, and it was irreplaceable, right? Like you had everything. You had locations, you had the brand name, you had the feeling that was hard to replace, right? And then Netflix rolled out, and we all know what happened overnight, right? So are you gonna open up a video type of space today? No, you're not, right? Because you will go under. You'll try to probably do something online and mimic or replicate Netflix. I don't know how successful you're going to be, but the whole point is it shifted, right? And then we go into typewriters, right? Like I remember in the 80s and in the 90s, every office, you know, I was a kid and stuff like that, walking through and whatnot, right? Like these people were educated, right? Like the typewriters, you know, they're sitting there, they're like, you know, typewriting it. All good, man. Appreciate it. Thanks. They were typewriting it and all of that stuff. So, you know, there was a skill. There was a skill that you had to learn, and you had to, like, probably took months and years to get there, right? Listen, type fast, don't make any mistakes, etc., right? Now every single program on your computer, on your phone, has an AI, artificial intelligence built in, that fixes your grammar, that fixes spelling, that makes emails if you like, right? Like you can make an email from a single word or a thought, or like, you know what I mean? And then people tell me I'm not irreplaceable. All right, so now we get into something else, right? And that's like, you know, salespeople. They say, hey, look, I cannot or I will not lose my job because people want that belly-to-belly experience. They want me to talk to in their ear what they want and how they want, and I'm gonna sell it to them, and I'm so good. All right, so fine. And then the pandemic hit, and then some of these car manufacturers and makes started displaying their cars, and that's it. No dealerships, no nothing. You order your car online, and that's it. You get it delivered, and that's the game story, right? Like, and now you're like, okay, so where is it coming to? Well, they don't need you anymore. That's the bottom line. You want to buy this car? You click, you buy it, zoom, gets delivered to your address, finished, right? So that's pretty much obsolete. So what are we going to do with tens of thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of people that are, you know, just lingering around, right? And, you know, most people would say, well, who cares? They'll find something else to do. Well, you know what? Like some of these people, some of the sales force or people would make six-figure incomes. Yes, can they replace this job? I'm sure they can, but can they replace it with the six-figure income? That's the question. But now, if that income, as you know, is tied to your financials, death, mortgage, bills, lifestyle, ongoing situations, well, you're sinking, right? So, therefore, I believe that it is hard for us to even have the guts to believe and think, look, within 6 months, we will see a recovery, right? So on an international landscape, things are changing. On the local landscape, things are changing. And let me give you something else, right? Like, you know, restaurants and everything else are hurting, right? And I heard this from so many people. Hey, look, I don't want to go out anymore, right? Like I don't want to, you know, I'm like, okay, is there any reason? Yes, the reason is like I need to spend $100 for, you know, a burger and a beer. That's the bottom line, right? So people's finances are getting very, very, very lean, right? And they have to pick and choose whether they will pay or that particular money will go towards a mortgage or leisure, luxury, or spending time with friends or whatnot. So that's why we're in this bottleneck situation that everything else around us is extremely expensive, and the buyer pool is getting shrunk next to none. Our condo market, especially the pre-construction condo market, is losing the ground, period. There's no recovery, there's no nothing. Like, there's more and more of these pre-con units coming in, and these buyers back then, the day sellers, are hurting, they're desperate, like horror story on every single case almost, right? Because they bought for wrong reasons, I believe. They bought because I wanted to make money overnight. This is the best thing since sliced bread. I gotta take this opportunity. If I don't do it now, I will never be able to do it. So let me buy 4 of them. Let me buy 12 of them, right? So they were going nuts, right? And then obviously that outside force from investors overseas and whatnot, we saw it even the point, you know, of 2000 and I believe it was 16 and 17. Like I remember, like foreign investors coming in, buying like, you know, dozens of these condo units, buying these homes, overbidding, overpaying, right? That it created a concern for the local buyer, and then they came up with double foreign taxes and whatnot, stalled the market for a little bit, between a 6 months to a year period, I would say, and then we went up again. Why? Because people had still nothing to, they were still in a good shape, if you know what I'm saying. The economy was good, they were still in a good shape, they had savings, everything was kind of rotating, and the balance between the earnings and the actual spent was still in a good balance. Today, not so much, right? Like the average pay for an average person owning a home, like they have to pay, who knows, like more than 50% of their earnings just to have a roof over their head, right? There's the other expenses and everything else that's kind of glued on top of that, inflation, and everything that you need, but you cannot really afford, right? Like now you're squeezing only the essentials. So the bottom line here is like, look, there's no growth. If people are fighting to exist, right? Like they're not thinking of growing, right? And what's the best way to kind of get ahead in today's market or mindset? I think it's hard to look, you know, half a decade out, but you can do small steps today, this month. What can you do? How can you adjust? How can you pivot? And if something is costing you way too much, like too much money, like that particular car or that house, downsize, sell the car. You don't need it, right? Because if you're gonna be stuck with it for the next, you know, 5 to 7 years, what's the point? You might not even be able to make it that far. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to call these shots. If you're not in the position of comfort, you have to call your battles in order to move forward, right? I mean, this is a friendly advice, like do your own due diligence and your own inner feeling, what you believe. But to summarize the video, I do not believe, or I don't see that this market will recover in 2025 or 2026 in order for us to see any positive gains. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next one.